So, in my previous episodes, I've talked about my family being emotionally abusive and narcissistic, and how I've only come to realize all of that now. In my late 20s, it has finally dawned on me that my family has been emotionally abusing me, and I've also suffered from narcissistic abuse from them. And I thought to myself, how I couldn't tell for so long that they were emotionally abusive, even though I did always have questions. I think that could be number one of how to tell if your own family is emotionally abusive and if they are narcissists. So, narcissism, I've said this in a couple of other episodes, narcissism is not the surface level that it has been made to be by TikTok videos or just social media. Narcissism, especially narcissistic personality disorder, it is a serious illness, disorder, like I said, and it can be very detrimental to those who have to live with those people. Some of the traits that I've mentioned before is someone thinking they're special. For me, that was and still is. My mother and my sister, they love to get all their attention on them. They lack empathy. Um, they can also, they tend to bring others down because it makes them feel good, I suppose. It is just a deeper illness than what a TikTok video would have you think. It's, even though being selfish and self-centered is part of it, but it is way deeper and way more damaging than what you think. And so I think to just encompass it into emotional abuse would be just one light way of explaining it. But if you've always questioned some of the things or ways that your family treats you, and you were just never sure or certain what was going on, I think that is the first way that you can tell that your family is emotional abusive. If you've had questions before or confusion or times where you were just not sure and something didn't feel right in certain interactions, in certain times or circumstances, in certain moments of your life, there was just something that didn't feel quite right. Whether it was a moment where you were so happy or you felt like your mother or your parent or your sibling was not as happy for you, but they seemed to be happy, but it didn't feel like it. Or times where you felt like you were made to feel small, but you couldn't fully process that or admit it, that this person, especially if it's a family member, that this person is bullying me, because it can be very subtle. I don't even know if this is wrong to say, but I actually wish my family wasn't as subtle. I wish it was blatant. I wish they were just blatant bullies and blatantly emotionally abusive, because I feel like I would have something tangible on them. But because these are things that are said maybe with a smile, maybe in a joking manner, maybe it's a backhanded compliment, so it's never really detectable, which is annoying because you can go on for years and years defending their behavior because they don't make it so obvious. It's not as blatant as it would be in other families. So that's the first way that you can tell that you're in an emotionally abusive relationship with your own family. If there have been times where you have just questioned certain things, like something just didn't feel right in you, like maybe you and your family were just having this good time, something was said or something was done and it just didn't quite sit right, and you felt like you couldn't address it, you felt like you couldn't really speak out, you felt like you couldn't really express your emotions. Signs of emotional abuse. The second one is that they tend to lie and change their stories, which actually leads to the second sign of how you can tell that your family is emotionally abusive and narcissistic, which just makes it worse, is that they lie and change their story, which feeds into the gaslighting that they provide so generously to you. So the lying and changing stories, I noticed my sister from a very young age, she used to lie. In fact, she has gotten better. She used to lie and change stories and spice stories up. And then also with my mother, but I justified it because sometimes it seemed like it was just a white little lie. There was one time when my mother lied to our family members and said that I was going to Cape Town to do something for school. And I guess I just played it off as like a parent just wanting to show off with their kid, even though I still saw it as something unnecessary. She just made it up, and I never really understood where it came from, why she even started it, why she had to lie. But I was just like, okay, it's just a parent trying to, showcase or show off with their child. But if you really, really look back, whether it's your sister, a sibling, your mother, in my case, it's my mother and my sister, they lie a lot. Like, really think about this. They lie a lot, and they often get away with it because it just seems maybe minor, maybe it's not really a big deal. Or sometimes they lie about other people or about certain situations, like to other people. For example, like I knew that my mother had lied that I went to Cape Town to do some school thing. So you don't think that your mother would lie to you like that. So you think it's something that happens to other people. So if you have a parent or a sibling that you often maybe hear stories, or maybe they tell you that, they end up saying something, if they lie to other people, and sometimes you are shocked by the lies that they tell, I want you to turn and think about how or if they've lied the same way to you. Because if they can lie like that to other people, the chances are pretty high they've also lied to you. But the main factor, whether they lied to you or they lied to other people, this is a sign of emotional abuse. They just tend to lie a lot. So this feeds into the other sign of emotional abuse, which is gaslighting. So gaslighting is defined as making someone question their own reality. This is why I'm saying, if you think your family hasn't lied to you, like maybe you sometimes hear your mother lying about something over the phone, or lying about something, when she talks to her colleagues, or your sibling, you hear them lying to their friends, they've probably also lied to you. So gaslighting, they make you question your reality. This is part of their lying. So there have been times, especially towards the end of last year, I started really noticing this, that my sister would make me question simple things that I thought I knew for sure, that I knew as a fact. And then she would say, it's not like that. Like there was just, sometimes it would be minor things. I've said this in another episode that one time it was a show that we watched together as a family, and I did not see the previous episode. And when they were playing the previous parts of that episode, I was like, I didn't watch that episode. And then she insisted that I did when I did not. And then the following morning, I made it a point to go and catch up and actually watch that episode that I had told her that I did not watch. And she insisted that I did. I made it a point to go back and watch that episode, and I realized, obviously, I know something that I haven't watched, especially when you watch it, when you finally get the chance to watch it and you realize like, oh, I did not watch this. How is it possible that I would not remember something that happened 2 days ago, like a complete show, and not remember a single thing? And sometimes that was the most extreme for me. That was the most extreme one. Usually would be minor things like one time we had come from church. So we were talking about this other guy, and I saw the guy, he was wearing like a yellow t-shirt, and she swore that he was actually wearing a red t-shirt. Now, because I had no proof, I didn't take a picture of the guy, I ended up like questioning my own reality. So this is something that you also have to think about. Look back at the times where you found yourself questioning whether you remembered something right. And chances are you probably remembered it right. And your sibling or your parent just made you question whether you remember that right. That's part of emotional abuse. Another sign of emotional abuse is that person you're in relationship with, let's even take it further, whether it's a friend or a significant other or your mother or your sister or your brother or whoever, they never admit that they are wrong. They never want to admit that they are wrong. From a very young age, that is something that I knew about my mother, that she can never admit that she's wrong. Like, she will take the roundabout way, but will never fully admit that she is wrong. Not even partly. Don't think she will partly admit that she will not. She will defend herself, she will defend her actions, and try to make you see her point of view until you cave in. And for most of my childhood, my teenage years, and my early 20s, that's what I did. Sometimes I would start maybe addressing a certain issue or be talking about something, and then I would end up being the one apologizing or end up being agreeable, agreeing with her, because she would never admit that she was wrong. She would just have excuses and explanations and defend herself, but she would never admit that she was wrong. Even in times where perhaps I could see that she sees that she's wrong, but she could never really say it. That's another sign of emotional abuse. And don't take these things lightly. As I'm saying these signs, as someone who has discovered that I have been emotionally abused, you take these things lightly and you think, oh, that's just part of like every family. No, it's unhealthy. If every family is like this, then every family is unhealthy. But not every family is like this. So not every family is this unhealthy. Every family has issues, sure. But this level of toxicity and emotional unhealth, if that's even a thing, no. So it's not okay for your parent, because we think because, they are the parents, they shouldn't. No, it's not okay for your parent to never admit that they're right, which means they lack the ability to take accountability for their actions. So no, it's not right. Another sign that you can tell if someone in your family or in your life is emotionally abusive and narcissistic is that they always blame you. Here's the thing about narcissists. And the reason it has become a much more bigger thing than I ever thought it was, they can never be in the position where they are wrong. They can never be in a position where they humble themselves so much so that they can acknowledge and take accountability for their actions. So instead of admitting that they're wrong or acknowledging something or taking accountability for their actions, they will blame you. They will even blame you to such a point that you might even be accused of what maybe you were trying to confront them about. Say maybe you were confronting them about the fact that they lie a lot. They will blame you so much so and make up so many excuses and reason. This is another sign of like an emotionally abusive relationship. Someone who likes to, you think they like reasoning, like justifying their story. Like they will give you just a long-winded explanation that basically says nothing and has no accountability in it, has nothing in that leads them to admitting that they're wrong. So they will always blame you. Another sign of emotional abuse, if you in your family are the one who always has to be strong and other people are allowed to be weak, you're emotionally abused. Okay? That is emotional abuse. For the longest time, I took pride in the fact that I'm strong, that I was way mature beyond my years, but that was not a good thing. I didn't realize it. I thought it was a good thing. It's good to be strong in a healthy way. It's good to be resilient in a healthy way. But to require of a 12-year-old or a teenager or a child to be strong and to compliment them when they are young and maybe you see that they are mature, but keep in mind as a parent, and I hope I do when I become a parent, that at the end of the day, that is a child. Okay? They are not Superman. So if you are always, or you always feel like, or you've always felt like you have to be strong, whereas when other people are weak or vulnerable or sad or upset, you are there for them and you feel like you're not given that space to be weak, to be upset, to be angry, to make mistakes. You always have to be strong and keep it together and be perfect. That is a sign of emotional abuse. Because human beings are not meant to function like that. We cannot always be strong. We cannot always keep it together. We definitely cannot be perfect. But that is how our mothers can make us feel. That is how my mother and my sister made me feel, like I always had to be strong. But when it was about them, I just had to be there, listen to their sob stories. But for me, nah, you just gotta be strong. Another sign is that they insist, or they have insisted in the past, that you are someone who's not this or that. So, for example, for me, what was always insisted or imposed on me rather was that I'm shy. So I've always been introverted. I've always been reserved. But if you are imposed with certain traits, like saying, oh, you could never speak up for yourself, or you could never do this or that. Like one time we were watching something and my family just said I could never do that. Like they put certain traits or personality traits on you, certain characteristics on you, and then you start to believe it. I was always made to feel like I'm too shy to do certain things. The moment I left for varsity and started being on my own, I realized that I was never afraid to do these things, but it was imposed on me that I'm too shy to do this. I'm too this to do this. So take notice of what is imposed on you and on your personality. You have to be the one who knows and say that I am to this to do this, not somebody else. They need to take it from you. It shouldn't be imposed on you. Nobody should say, oh, you're too scared to go bungee jumping. Did you hear that from me? Did I tell you that? Why are you imposing that on me? What makes you think that? And then, because this is someone you are in close relation to, if it's your mother, your sister, your significant other, you start to believe it. But really think about it. Really think, would you have believed it? And maybe you end up never going bungee jumping in your life because it was imposed or suggested to you that you are too scared to do that. Also, I don't want to go bungee jumping. I never want to go bungee jumping, but that was just the example I had. Another sign that you are emotionally abused is having family members or friends or a significant other who wants all their attention on them. They love narcissists. They love attention. They love it. Emotional abusers, they will suck you dry. They will suck your emotions dry. They will beat your emotions down. But they love it when it comes, like, give them all the supply. Like, praise them, compliment them. Be there for them when they need a shoulder to cry on. Notice if your mother, if your parent, if your sibling, if anyone in your life just needs you to be there for them constantly. They need you to, say congratulations on something big. And this is not a wrong thing, but relationships are double-sided. So if I am giving, and I never get anything, that's not a relationship. That's just you taking from me. Even taking my energy, my effort, my being there, my time. Another sign that you can tell that someone is emotionally abusive in your life is that they never really compliment you. So this can happen two ways. It might be someone who just never literally compliments you. But if you have anyone in your life like my mother and my sister, they will give backhanded compliments or watered down compliments. They will actually compliment you, but you will feel like it's empty, like it's missing something, and you feel it. Like, looking back now, I realize, like, even in times where something great had happened in my life, their congratulations, their compliments, they didn't have substance. They lacked something. A big part of realizing that you're emotionally abused is really listening to that deep part in you, that God-given intuition, that God-given gut feeling. Don't ignore that, because you felt this. If you are listening to this and you have been listening to the signs that I've been listing, you've probably been nodding along because your gut feeling has been telling you. So even when it comes to compliments or congratulations or just, people celebrating with you in your achievements or your success, you felt it. It might be dawning on you now, but you've actually been feeling it. You felt that it lacked something. It lacked something. Another sign is that when you address something, you are made to feel like you are asking a lot. This is a big sign of emotional abuse. Like when you address something, or you tell them that you don't like something, or you tell them what you do like or what you'd prefer, you are made to feel like you are asking a lot, or you are too sensitive or too emotional. And like I said, from my family, it has always been very subtle. Maybe not as subtle as I make it to be, but it hasn't been as obvious as someone saying, when I address something and I tell them that I don't like something they did, they never responded saying, oh, you're just too sensitive, or you're just too... My mother has a couple of times, but most of the time, it's just how they make me feel. Like I'm just, when you are saying something to someone and like in your mind you can imagine them rolling their eyes. That's how I'd feel when I would address something. They would never really say that, oh, you're just asking too much. But I would feel like they are rolling their eyes in their heads, like, oh my goodness, what are we supposed to do now? Be nicer to her? Why is she so sensitive? That's what I felt. Okay? Another sign is that they have intense mood swings. This is even more specific to the narcissist, because the narcissist is a walking time bomb. They have intense mood swings. So they can go from like being very happy one day, and then the next day they just come back from work or from school, or they come back from somewhere, or they wake up just not feeling it. And now you're just like not sure how to act. Especially as a child, this really affected me, because with my mother, like it wasn't something I could confront or address. First of all, I was a child, so I wasn't even mature enough to know that I could address or confront stuff. But secondly, it's also just like when you grow up in a black family, a lot of things are regarded as being respectful. So you couldn't really say anything about the fact that your mother comes back so moody. Now everybody has to be down. Now she's snappy. And now you're just walking on eggshells. So that's another sign of emotional abuse. If something horrible has happened during the day, or you just had a long, you come back and you say that. In a healthy family, which I never had, in a healthy family, this would be, I come back from work, or I'm tired, or something has upset me. Let people know so that they know going forward how to address you, and they don't feel like they're walking on eggshells. You just keep it straight. I had a long day. I'm really tired, or something upsetting happened at work. So like I just probably just want to go to sleep. Maybe I don't really want to talk. Address it. Don't keep people guessing. And my mother would keep us guessing. We didn't know what was wrong. And so we're just trying to appease her, make her happy, and just, be on our best behavior, because even if you were excited about something, now you had to contain that excitement because mommy is not in the mood. And that is a terrible way to treat your children. It is terrible. Don't defend your parents. Don't be like, oh yeah, parents just sometimes have bad days. That is terrible parenting. Let us just call it what it is. That is horrible parenting. To keep your child guessing how you're feeling. This is why I am dealing with extreme levels of anxiety. This is why I dip in and out of depression. Because I was never sure how the mood would be around here at home. So I was always anxious. I was always anxious of how my mother would respond and how she would be today. That is terrible parenting. It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to be upset. But how do you handle that? That is what truly matters. And also, once they get into this intense mood, or maybe you've done something to upset them, they love using the silent treatment. Again, being silent or just completely avoiding someone without saying anything or addressing the matter at hand, even if you are the one who was in the wrong, maybe you did upset your mother, maybe you did upset your boyfriend, maybe you did upset your sibling, but using the silent treatment as a way to punish you is immature, and it is emotional abuse. Issues need to be addressed and not avoided. Talk about it. And if they need space, that is what they should say. Instead of using the silent treatment where it keeps you guessing where you are standing with that person. If they need some space from you, maybe you've upset them, that is what they should say. The mature thing to do is to say, hey, I was really upset when you said that or did that, and I've given it some thought. I just need some space to think, and then I'll get back to you whenever I can. Maturity, guys. Maturity. Anyway, those are just some of the signs that you could possibly be in an emotionally abusive family, or maybe even friends or relationship. Okay? Watch out for these things. Sometimes they do things that you haven't asked them to do, and then you owe them. Like, they never just do something kind out of the goodness of their heart. Sometimes they do it so that you can owe them. They demand your time. They always want you to be with them when it suits them. They downplay your achievements. They make you feel good when they want to, giving you the hope that you can get their love someday. They want you to tell them, they insist that you tell them everything that's going on in your life. They don't respect your boundaries. They judge you for making yourself better, like bettering yourself, bettering your life. They judge you for those kind of things. Watch out for all those things. And if you notice any of these things, you are definitely in an emotionally abusive relationship, or even worse, you are in a narcissistic abusive relationship. Run.